Hi YouTubers, now I'm back for another YouTube video. Well, technically this is the what would have happened if this were real. Now, I was trying to find out for an idea and maybe it is. So, I don't know, maybe I'll just go with something a little bit easier. Like, you know how like for the first starters, this one is actually going to be. Actually, I was thinking about a movie that was the movie that I think, well, it's connected to like that. So I think I'm gonna start off with like what would have happened if the Skylanders movie was real. So here we are in the main beginning. Most of it would seem very seem very similar to the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. For the Skylanders movie, I wanted to give a little bit. I wanted to give a little bit. I wanted to give a little bit of a lot of information. So it would start off a lot like the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. There would be a beginning where some bad things happen, which of course that probably is. And I'm thinking that it will happen because then it's gonna start off with one of the persons actually defending themselves and all that. So that's kind of the beginning. So I kind of already have the beginning visioned for this. Now, this might or might not happen later in the future, but this is just my idea for if this comes out. Then a few couple of years later, then we would see a few couple of human characters in the Skylanders movie. Well, this would probably be a lot similar as they would be probably be having like difficulties, and they would have to and they would be having new changes and all that. That's probably what would happen. There would be like a few couple talking, and then we would finally get to see the much. Then you would finally get to see the CGI version of the Shriver himself. And then this would be for the Skylanders movie, and I'm thinking maybe it's perfectly fine. I mean, when you think about it, it would start off in the beginning. They would be on like Earth, and they would like in the beginning they would be stuck on Earth, and they would have to fight, and they would probably be living their best lives, and then the only way they can escape is like through through like a portal or something. So that's probably what would happen. Then I'm guessing next then I'm guessing next is that a lot similar to the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. For the Skylanders movie, Spyro would actually use like fire use it like for fire for like football, which of course how many wings he flied, it would give out like it would have all this fire would be out right throughout the entire world and all. So I'm kind of already visioning this perfectly well, so I already know exactly what this will be like. Then they find out. Then the human characters they find out that a lot of people are like a lot of people like buildings are like gone like that is. And then a few couple minutes after this, we would be introduced into the villain of the Skylanders movie, which Chaos would be revealed. He would be revealed into the movie in a much human like version of it. So yeah, I can expect for there to be a human like version of Chaos in the Skylanders movie if the live action PG one, which if I can do that, which of course this is one of my first ideas. a few couple of these. Okay, so there will be a few couple of these later down the road. There will be a few couple of them later down the road. Hopefully, you'll find out. So let's head back. So they're eventually so the Chaos in the Skylanders movie, the live action PG movie, they'd eventually would have to find they would eventually meet up with the human characters, which of course I'm forwarding through that where the Chaos in the Skylanders movie eventually meets up with the human characters, which of course is probably what will happen. Then the human characters and of course the Skylanders would meet. Well, right after they go through one bad thing together. Right after they go through one bad scary thing together. Supposedly this would lead to more. Supposedly this would lead to more characters, as if it will. So yeah. Yeah, and I'm thinking it's perfectly fine, because when you think about it, it's like a perfectly good idea. So then and ever forward, they have to call someone in order to get help, which the human characters would probably do that. Then they lead to more other areas, and then they would probably sleep in a hotel where they would stay for the night, and then they would probably leave. Then there would probably be a few couple of stuff going on, a lot of car chases and all that. There probably in the Skylanders movie, if it was a live action PG movie, it would probably have that, but it would also be good to add a few couple like funny scenes and all, like you know what I mean, like it's something that like gives like a perfectly good movie. So yeah, and I'm thinking, okay, okay, I'll do that. So the next thing that would happen a few couple minutes later, few couple minutes later, they would finally be at their destination, which of course they would finally be there, which of course they would work on getting up to the tallest building. Then they'd be able to then of course Spyro and all the other Skylanders would actually have all of the have all like the portals, but then Chaos would be there. They would actually have to go through another fight scene, they would have to go through another battle scene, which of course would be very different. Then they eventually put the human characters through a portal, which actually brings them back to Earth, but in a totally different area. Then Sparrow and all the other Skylanders, they run away. They would run away. They have to do this, and then then human characters and Sparrow and the Skylanders would finally meet, which this does seem a lot like. Which this does seem a lot like that, and then they're probably gonna have one big battle scene, and then Sparrow and the Skylanders are probably gonna banish Chaos to the out and Glumshanks, and then Chaos to the Outlands, and then Glumshanks would be there as his like butler, and then they banish all of them to the Outlands, and then they'd safely and securely, and that would basically and all that. Then as we fast forward, life in the Skylanders movie actually goes perfectly good. Yeah. And then the two human characters eventually get along, and then the Skylanders tell them, Sparrow and the Skylanders then tell them that they're true portal masters and all that, telling them that they are true portal masters, and then the human characters tell Sparrow and the Skylanders that they're true Skylanders, well, in true heroes. Yeah. So that basically is what would happen. That basically is the one thing that would happen. Then eventually the two human characters, they would eventually get along. The human characters, they would eventually get along, and they would eventually have a perfectly good life, which technically that is, and it would give them a perfectly good life forever. And yeah, then eventually Sparrow and the Skylanders, they eventually have their own part of the house, which of course would be very different, their own room, and then with the human a room of the house with the human characters, and then they would kind of enjoy themselves forever. Yeah, and then that's kind of and then they both enjoy being with each other, and that's kind of it. Yeah, then the credits roll, and then that's basically it. So I think that's probably what would have happened if there was like a Skylanders movie. So I think it probably would have been a lot similar to the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. I'm thinking that the Skylanders movie would probably be a little bit similar to the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, but a totally different story. But a totally different story with different characters, different actors, unlike the TV show and the video game, nonetheless. It probably would have been like that. Now, I don't know, maybe we might get to see this later in the future. Maybe after so many years and decades of other kid-related movies, they'd finally create a Skylanders movie. Yeah. So, I mean, they might, which of course, that is so I mean it would be perfectly good as long as they have perfectly good like actors. Probably is the what would have happened if the Skylanders movie were real. Now this is kind of what it would be like if that is so. Yeah, so that's it for today. Peace out. Bye bye.